I know, dude. So I smoked it this morning, and we are recording, by the way. So I'm not gonna give anything away, but like I woke up early to smoke it because I knew that my day was going to be like, it was going to be very difficult for me to do it other than doing it like first thing this morning at like 8:00. So I sat down and I was like, I was tickled with excitement for certain reasons. And then, that vanished pretty quickly. So, before we get into like any topical things on this podcast, anything of that nature, guess what?
Oh shit!
There she is.
Got that knockout, bro.
There she is. It is the Dongers Knockout by Hot Ticket in collaboration with Rodriguez Cigars and My Cigar Pack, who is distributing these bad boys. Super stoked to get them yesterday. I didn't think they were going to get here till today. So we had plans last night and they showed up at like 4 and our plans were at 5:30. And I was like, I'm going to smoke this thing so hard, like so fucking hard. And I did.
That's the only way to smoke a donger, bro.
Yeah, you have to. If you're gonna dong it, you gotta dong it hard. Dude, the funny thing is like when I put out the post the other day, I just put out like a poll, and like the poll was like, put your dong in me, and then it was like, get that dong out of here. Like, so either you want one or you don't. And it was hilarious to me. Not that we have a huge female audience, but there was a lot of females that selected put that dong in me. And only males that said, get that dong away from me. And I just wanted to be like, it's a cigar, not a real wiener. But yeah, man, it's like, I'm so stoked that we finally got these. They turned out really good. And here, I'll flip them around. So the Candela bands are so dope. Like, they're awesome. And they turned out, I'm telling you, the construction on these things and like how firm they are, it's crazy. And you saw that white ash. I sent that picture to you. Like, it is a thick white ash. It's funny because you could still see the burn tip. You could see the point. And then I like kind of flaked it off and then it just started burning around it. And I was like, how in the fuck is that holding like that? It's crazy. Super, super dense. I'm tickled to death. I'm not going to say anything about the flavors in terms of like what I feel about it until you get an opportunity to smoke it. But yeah, I don't know that I could have been more pleased with the way that they turned out across the board, like construction, burn, and then of course the flavors, which ironically enough, if you remember what we were talking to Danny about in terms of like the flavors we wanted this cigar to impart and what we were most concerned with as far as like that profile, making it something that's like broad base that a lot of people are going to enjoy, but is still really unique, which I don't know that there's many other manufacturers I would have trusted that to than Rodriguez. And it just like fucking nailed it, dude. Just nailed. I was like, when I smoked it, I was like, oh my God, it's really scientific.
I can't wait because I feel, well, never mind. Well, that's just topic for another time. But right. Yeah, I can't wait to smoke it.
Yeah. So are you part of the COVID crew now? How's that?
So what's a little bit challenging is that all of us had flu-like symptoms last week because Kelsey's or Elena's biological father knew he was sick, knew he was getting sick, yet saw his daughter, right, and then proceeded to allow his daughter to come back with us, and then tell us later that week, nearly 5 or 6 days later, that he tested positive for COVID. And it wasn't until literally 2 days following that, I started getting cold chills and Kelsey started getting flu-like symptoms. And I was super fatigued. I was really foggy headed. I had migraines, funny enough. Like my whole week has been migraines. Kelsey probably had the most symptoms. Elena had some fevers and some congestion. Kale is asymptomatic.
Okay.
But baby Sutton, she's been real like just, seemingly can't get comfortable. Like sounds like she got a little bit on her chest, but she's generally good. But we ended up getting tested, right? So it takes like days.
Did you get tested?
No, I'm gonna go get tested for antibodies though, because this is the result of what happened.
Okay.
So by the time we realized what was happening, we started feeling sick. We were already a week or so in. And being contagious and being symptomatic are two different things.
Right.
So Kelsey ended up getting tested and baby Sutton got tested all on the same day. We went Thursday. All of us kids, we went, like, Kelsey got tested and Sutton got tested. Sutton had like the swab that touches her brain. She had that one done, took her like a champ for a baby. and then Kelsey had to do her own.
Yeah.
We're like, here's the nose swab. You got to do it yourself, each nostril 15 seconds. And then we left. And they're like, for Sutton, you'll know in 24 hours whether or not she had it or has it. Now that's keyword. If she has it, not had it, has it.
Has it currently, right.
And same with Kelsey. It's like, we'll let you know in 2 to 3 days whether or not you have COVID.
Meaning that it's not an antibody test.
Right. So next day, doctor calls Kelsey and we're like, and we were told they'll only contact you if you have COVID. Otherwise, you'll get like a My Chart, like hospital notification with the results. Doctor called her anyway and says, oh yeah, Sutton, she does not have COVID. And we're like, what?
Yeah.
Okay. Because like if I felt like shit like for a couple of days, and really honestly, being frank, it was not bad for me at all.
You can be Chris. You don't have to be Frank. There's no reason to change your identity on the podcast.
It was not a crippling thing for me in the slightest. Like I didn't even feel like I had a cold. I just felt off in my head, you know, and a couple cold chills like the first day. But we're like, that's weird because there's no doubt in my mind, if any one of us had COVID, like the baby has it, Kelsey has it, I have it, because we're so tight knit right now. Those three, like me, Kelsey, and the baby, like if one of us has it, all of us have it. So it's like came back negative. And then Kelsey's results came last night, like in the middle of the night, because we were up with a crazy baby. And her test came back negative. But this is what they said in the disclaimer. This does not mean you didn't have COVID, but a true test of seeing if you have COVID is at the first signs of symptoms and within the first 5 to 7 days of being exposed to COVID, that's when you get tested. Does that make sense? So like, we might have been outside the window of what would have been considered being positively tested for COVID because it's already gone through our system.
But the antibodies, if you do an antibody test, it'll tell the tale.
Right, but the antibodies could.
Right.
So I'm going to try to do that next week and see if we have, if any one of us has the antibodies, because it's very likely we do.
Yeah.
Because it's just too coincidental that all of us were having symptoms and ailments that were some flu-like, some like a mild cold coming on.
You know, it's interesting though. I saw a statistic by a doctor that said at this particular point in time in the year, there's usually over 17,000 reported cases of influenza. This year so far, only 34.
Really? Everybody's blaming it on COVID?
Yeah. Only 34 had been reported. I think it was like middle of last week. It was over 17,000 is usually reported between, I think like the time period of like flu season to now. And only 34 cases had been reported in the United States of influenza.
So here's where my conspiracy hat comes on.
Yeah.
Because there's some questions.
Are you going to take your crown heads off to put your conspiracy hat on? We should make you a conspiracy hat. You just remove one, put on the other. It'll just be like one of those aluminum cones.
This is my conspiracy crown death hat. Here's why I think all this is troubling. One, we can't verify that we had COVID yet, right? Unless we do an antibodies test, which is weird.
But even those tests are only like 85% right. Like I feel like there's too much room for error there.
Secondly, Sutton's test, they told us they were going to call us.
Yeah.
If she had COVID. If she didn't, then we would get a notification on her My Chart, but they called us anyway to tell us they're negative. Let me just explain why that seems weird.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you want some record, both on the parents' accountability side and also on the doctor's side, to have a report that says, hey, your child does or doesn't have COVID.
Yeah.
They called us and told us this. We have no report. We have nothing to verify that this doctor called us.
Yeah.
Nothing. And which is kind of crazy because I know how this propaganda bullshit kind of
works.
I
wonder if you were to ask for that information and say, I want this on record. Obviously, for any time I would have to take my kid to the hospital, I would want to furnish something that says, no, she did not contract COVID, or she's been tested, but test results came back negative.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like a doctor's office or whoever has to furnish that.
Right. But what's alarming is that the fact that they called us anyway to tell us that she does or doesn't have it, and we don't have a report to say otherwise, outside of saying we went for an appointment, what's stopping them from just filing it as a positive case of COVID?
Yeah. So did I tell you that story? I may have told it on the podcast, and I have. You can just tell me. There's a guy I play hockey with, and his sister ended up going to get she scheduled an appointment to get a test because she was having similar symptoms to COVID. This was like back in June. Like, she felt like something was off. She scheduled the test, wasn't going to be able to go take the test for like 2 days, but after like the next day, she felt fine. And she was like, she felt okay. You know what I mean? And so she canceled her appointment. She didn't go. 2 days after that, she gets a call from her doctor's office and says, we have your COVID test results. And she was like, huh? They're like, we have your COVID test results. You tested positive. And she goes, that's weird because I never took a test. And then they were like, oh, wait a second. I think we have the wrong person. But here's the strange thing. From what he told me is when she called the doctors, or when the doctor's office called her to give her all the tests, and when she first scheduled her appointment, you have to provide your date of birth,
driver's license
number, social security, all that stuff. You have to have verification of who you are.
Yep.
And they specifically told her that she had tested positive when she never took a test. Then the person hung up on her, and she called back to the office manager. The office manager said the same thing. They're like, oh, I think we just mixed it up. We got the wrong file. And she's like, how's that possible? Like, you had me verify my age, my social security. Like, how do you get that wrong? And they're like, oh, it was just a mix up. That's our bad, blah, blah, blah. I hung up.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And
crazy.
And now the people that helped us were very nice. Don't get me wrong. But it was like, have you ever seen those Valvoline instant oil like facilities?
Yeah.
Where you just drive into the building and they change your oil.
Was it like was it the CVS drive-through ones? Is that what it was?
No, these were St. Elizabeth hospital-based ones.
Oh, okay.
But they were like that. They were literally pop-up tents with giant lines of cones. And you drive up there, and then you contact them or give them information to let them know you're there and that you're this person at this time for the appointment.
Right.
And then you drive in there, and a bunch of people with masks like come to your side windows and like do the swabs for you, or they make you do it yourself.
Yeah. So weird.
You know, like the scene in like E.T. where like
all the medical people,
and like they're in the white tent and everybody's wearing white suits. It's kind of like that.
It reminds me of that movie with Dustin Hoffman when they're like fighting that fucking monkey outbreak. Yeah. It's like,
yeah, it's kind of like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, and here's the thing, like, yeah, I think from a clinical perspective, you have to have those. And I commend like places like CVS that have the drive, like there's multiple CVSs and they just keep popping up everywhere where you can actually like go through the drive-through and get those tests. So the accessibility is like really nice, but beyond the accessibility, I wonder how accurate the data is and how much of it's being influenced by dollars and how much it's being influenced by the political piece of it. And it's so weird because I have this conversation with so many people. I'm like, I've never questioned the fact that coronavirus is real or not real. I know it's real. What I question is the severity and the data around coronavirus as a whole, because there's people who are just so disingenuous, and the people who have the ability to make up the data or to manipulate the data can do so without anybody knowing. And you're telling me there's not a series of human beings, facilitators at doctors' offices or board members at hospitals that are not trying to manipulate data in their favor. You're crazy. You're crazy to think that that doesn't exist, that every single hospital, every administrator in every single hospital is being truthful with this data. You're fucking crazy. It's impossible. Yeah. It's in fucking possible. So it's, I don't know, the whole thing is like, you know, at this point, I'm like, thank God a vaccine is here and more on the horizon. There's still like, I think 5 other different organizations that are going through their last part of their clinical trials, like in the next week. Yeah. Pfizer already has theirs. There's another company that has theirs. I know there's over 500,000 units coming to Ohio. The first one will actually be administered on the 15th, you know, to frontline hospital workers. And I think that changes the dynamic of everything. But like the whole fucking thing is just, it's really squirrely. I did talk to mom yesterday and I literally I was talking to her about it and I was just, I was like, I just want to express that I'm, you know, a little concerned. I mean, because if you guys had it or don't have it or whatever symptoms are, like I told mom, I was like, I can't take that risk because of like grandma and Lauren's grandma, who is 90 years old. I was like, so I love you all, but I'll see you in 2021. Like, there's no way I can do Christmas this year. There's just no way with just how squirrely shit is. Like even myself, I'm like hunkering down just so, I don't know. I told mom, I was like, I'm not worried about me and never have been. Like if I got it, I mean, knock on wood, I think I would be very much okay. Like I'm not worried at all. But I just have this weird conscious thing where it's like, if I had it and I didn't know it and I gave it to someone and they traced it back to me and that person died, I don't know how I could live with myself. I would literally, I don't know what I would do. I would be like so severely upset. So I just told mom, I was just like, I love y'all. I'll see you on Zoom. Like, there's just no part of me that's going to participate in like a mass family Christmas. It's just not going to happen. But
yeah. And if I have it or had it, there's so much. Now, don't get me wrong. I know there's risks around it for anybody who might be susceptible to autoimmune issues or bad respiratory system, diabetes, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, all that stuff. But I'm in a household where I'm in decent enough health, and it was like nothing for me.
Right.
I've got my son who, if he had it or has it, is asymptomatic. We have Elena who has a poor immune system, and she had like some fevers and a little bit of congestion, and that was it. And then we had Kelsey, which had the worst symptoms out of all of us, with chills, fatigue, extreme headaches. No fever though. No one, by the way, no one's coughed. Like hardly anybody's coughed.
Makes me wonder if like anybody actually had it though. Like,
yeah,
I mean,
that's
truthfully had it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to do the antibody test just to be sure.
But we were definitely, if like, we were definitely around people like first degree, like tested positive.
Right.
You know, very good chance that it came back, but maybe it didn't. I don't know. But I just have a hard time believing that, because I know the people that got it, and they were in a household with Elena for nearly the entire weekend.
Right.
And they were contagious at that point based on what the doctors told them. And they hug and smooch on their kids, and they hug them, and they, you know,
right.
And then she comes back, you know, it's like, I just don't know how it wouldn't been possible that she got it home.
Yeah. I don't know. It's weird. You know how they did, like people, I think it was like, there was a couple countries that did it. And I think there were Asian countries where they're like, if you were somebody who had tested positive for COVID, but no longer in that contagious period, like let's like say you're outside of it, that they had like markers on their phone. So like if like you could literally go on this digital map and see the people around you who have not reported positive cases, the people who have, but they're allowed to be back out in society because of like antibodies and all that. Like they had this digital fucking map of who around you had fucking COVID and who didn't. So you would know just proximity based if you were look at your phone, like stay away from that guy in the corner. You know what I mean? Or it's kind of crazy. And like, I'm surprised. I guess I'm not surprised, but like be crazy if we did something like that here. Like you just know from proximity perspective, like get alert on your phone, like, you know, COVID dude, you know, 10 clicks north.
I would imagine it would have caused some serious shit between citizens. I think that's why we never did it.
Yeah, you would throw baseballs at the person who was contagious.
Yeah. Like, so this weird mob mentality. Get away from me, sickie.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, it'd probably be that. No.
But yeah, and it's like, I'm not sick. I promise. I'm not sick.
I'm not contagious. It's fine. And they're like bleeding from their eyes, like Outbreak.
I'm fine.
That's what happened in Outbreak. All those people kept saying they were fine, and the one lady's like bleeding from her eyeballs.
Yeah.
It's like, everything's fine. They're looking at her like,
no, you're not.
You're fine. You're 10 seconds from death.
Yeah. Yep.
Before we actually get into the review today, I did want to just do a little share screen real quick, because I've had so many people ask me, because there's multiple ways to buy this Knockout by Donger Cigar. So it's all being distributed through My Cigar Pack, and there's 3 ways to essentially get it. So one way is through their club membership, so the regular subscription, and you can choose to have the factory direct stuff as an add-on, which comes out to be like $24 per 5 cigars. Or you can subscribe to the factory direct one on its own subscription base, which I think is still that $24 price point. Or you can buy single packs of these cigars. So if you go to cigaryard.com, which is part of My Cigar Pack, you can, in fact, and I will show you now, you can, in fact, for the YouTubers, you can buy this cigar on this page. So if you go to Home, Deals, Factory Direct, Rodriguez Hot Ticket, Factory Direct cigar, you see it on here, $28.75, just a hell of a deal. So you can get it on the site and just buy a pack of 1. So you don't have to commit to a subscription if you don't want to. I would encourage you to do it, because My Cigar Pack subscriptions are pretty sweet. We just got the December packs. I got them yesterday, and there's just some fucking heaters in there. So, or you can subscribe to the Factory Direct. Next month will be different. It won't be ours, but this will be available on Cigar Yard. So for anybody out there that's just saying, hey, we just want to buy the Knockout cigars, we want to support our boys, or you're interested in this iteration of a Rodriguez cigar, specially built for us, you can go to cigaryard.com. Again, go to Home, Deals, Factory Direct, and you'll see Knockout in there, and you can just buy a 5-pack at a time.
And let me put some urgency on it, folks. This is not a cigar in regular production. So once these are sold, they're gone.
Once they're gone, they're gone. And somebody asked me how many was made, and I was like, I don't know.
I don't know.
I said enough. There's enough, but we've already had quite a few people. I mean, I've had a lot of people DM me their orders. Like, they're like, I got so many on order. I've had multiple people who have bought 5 or more. And there's been even quite a few people have bought like 2 or 3. There's a lot of people who have bought just, 1 5-pack. So the amount of support around it has been really cool thus far. It's really, really only kind of publicized this to the degree where you could go buy them yesterday afternoon, which would be Friday afternoon. We're recording this on Saturday. But it's been in the works. And for anybody who already has the My Cigar Pack subscription and you have latched onto it, the factory direct stuff, it will automatically, you probably already had it for a week. So Donger's been out there. The squirrely looking dude from Cigar Obsession that does the YouTube videos that has kind of a slight lisp and he looks kind of like a serial killer.
What?
He did. There's nothing funnier than watching this guy unpack this fucking pack this month and see this, and he turns it and he goes, and Donger's Knockout. By the way, doesn't mention our name, and this is like the second time this guy has like unpacked a pack with something of ours in it and like refuses to say the hot ticket. Like it's like he knows who we are, and it's just like, fuck those guys. They're pieces of shit in the cigar industry. Like, I'm not going to give them the time of day, because he goes, oh, buy My Cigar Pack and Rodriguez, even though very clearly at the top it says buy the hot ticket. You didn't say a fucking word. And I was, you know what? I was going to rifle something back at him and be like, hey man, don't be a fucking piece of shit. Call my name.
Hey.
But it's kind of funny.
We get the last word or last joke because he's still got to put our donger in his mouth.
That's true. I wonder if he'll actually smoke them. I bet he tosses them or like gives them.
Oh, fuck these things.
Yeah, it's kind of frustrating too, because the guy's a real dork. Even though I kind of do watch his reviews sometimes. He's got like 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, and that just makes me nauseous because he's just, and people are just like, great review, dude. And I'm just like, oh, like, how do you watch? I'm just playing around. His reviews are actually pretty decent. They're not as bad as Half Wheel, so I give him kudos for not being that. But anyway, hey, so we do have a review today, and dare I say, maybe, and we're coming to a close in 2020, and this may be the most excited I've been about a review in all of 2020. Like, so ecstatic to break this cigar down. I can't contain my excitement. And what am I talking about? Well, you already know. It is the 2020 release of the CAO Vision, which, by the way, anybody who knows me knows that I have this wild obsession for the original CAO Vision that came back out in 2007. I have multiple of those cigars. They're atrociously fucking awful. They're my favorite cigar that I hate. And I continue buying them because they're so ridiculous. And I smoke them often just to remind myself how bad a cigar really can be. So I'm sure CAO is laughing all the way to the bank. The fact that I keep buying these are like, I don't know why he hates them so much. He keeps buying them.
He's buying the Vision.
I'm so excited the fact that they announced they're re-releasing the 2020 CAO Vision, which is a limited offering. Does it come with the really fucking atrocious lit up blue humidor? Of course it does. How could it not? But it is not the same blend of cigar, and it's not the same Vitola. It's actually in a Churchill, so it's much larger than the original. And I don't believe it has a serial number on it, like the gimmick of the old. It's just the CAO Vision with a new blend. And I believe, I mean, we'll get into the components of the cigar, but there is some uniqueness to it in terms of its components. But yeah, man, CAO Vision, like, I cannot believe this is like back in my life re-released, but like a new one. So like a different vision. There's two visions. I didn't know how someone could have two visions. I think you can only have one vision unless each eye has its own vision. But either way, I've never been more excited.
Yeah. What's crazy is, like, I don't know if you know this. I don't know if you believe in these types of things, Corey, but Nostradamus predicted this.
Mm.
Do you realize that? Did you know that?
Nostradamus had a vision of the vision?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Like, so there was so many 2020 predictions that Nostradamus kind of, in fact, kind of predicted for 2020. First one being North Korea and South Korea will merge. He talked about two conjoining countries that will merge.
But that didn't happen.
A plague was predicted by Nostradamus for 2020. He even said,
I nailed that one.
prophetically, the great plague of the city will not cease until there be avenged the death of the just blood condemned for a price without crime, of the great lady outraged by pretense, brothers and sisters captive in diverse places.
Huh.
But one of the predictions, Corey, that he also mentioned is this: a vision from the past will be resurrected in 2020 and be equally as disappointing.
Dare I say, I think Nostradamus nailed it. Yeah. And we'll get into it. Let's get into the components of the cigar. Let's actually let's get into what this fucking monstrosity is comprised of. This goddamn fucking Frankenstein. What I'm gonna call Vision 2020. 2020 Vision. Whoa, crazy. It boasts, and this is partly different. Actually, I think all components are different. Cameroon wrapper. First time Rick Rodriguez actually used a Cameroon wrapper in one of his blends. Ecuadorian Sumatra binder and Nicaraguan fillers. Again, I already expressed this. It's in a Churchill 7x50. Now, here's the crazy thing. The Vision of the old was roughly like 14, 15 bucks.
Yeah.
Which is really egregious.
Yeah.
At the time, just super egregious. This one, $19. $19. Dude, I paid and you paid.
I paid 19.
I paid $19 for this cigar. Now, we just released episode 176 was our favorite cigars, top cigars ever, $20. This is almost $20 and it's a fucking CAO. We spent almost $20 for the fucking new CAO Vision. Now let's see how it plays out.
Sure.
So we always begin with construction. So Chris, I'm going to ask you, how was the construction on your Vision?
Let's focus on the cigar before we take a look at the labeling and branding on this 2020 Vision.
Oh, okay. I have so much to say about on this cigar.
So it's a caramelish color. You know, it's got some black speckling, light thin veins. It honestly looked like decent enough construction. But then your eye is immediately driven towards this like futuristic dystopian future of a cigar brand that is like almost inciting that this is the future of cigars. And I immediately laughed at it. I immediately laughed at it.
I don't know that I could have said that any better. And had I not thought about that, but as you were saying it, I agree with you. Like it was supposed to be more meaningful than what it actually is. like CAO almost saying this is the future.
Right.
Like this representation in a cigar is what you will see as we move forward. It's like an unknown bold statement that they I don't know intended to make or unintentionally. Maybe that's the way that we're absorbing it.
Yeah. But it's sporting this like white label with like blue trim on it, very indicative of the box that you can basically own now. Lit up with LEDs. So if you like a lit up LED little personal humidor that holds 20 sticks.
Now here's what I have to say though. The price of admission to get that humidor would be 19 times 20. That's a $380 purchase.
Yeah.
To actually get the humidor as a part of this whole thing. Right. Yeah. And we've said this before. We talked about the new El Buense where it's like this fold out, really aesthetically pleasing artistic box done by so-and-so, whatever. And then my argument was you're paying more. You're paying the inflation costs of the cigar because that's what that dollar amount that has to be absorbed by the artistic piece of the box. It's got to go to somewhere. So where does it go? It goes in the cost of the cigar. But if you aren't committed to buying a whole box, you just get the cigar and you don't get the artistic piece of the box unless someone decides to chop 1/20th off of it for you and hand it to you at purchase. You're just paying the inflated cost of the cigar. Yeah. Someone else is getting that fucking humidor at the end of it.
Yeah. Now, construction looked good on it. Looked, from a cigar standpoint, looked fine.
Yeah.
Labeling, I'm like, what's happening? And then, but really, I don't know if you guys have ever heard me have a challenge when it comes to construction in a long time, right? And I'm not saying this to like I want this to fail, because I know we kind of went into this with like, yeah, there's no way. There's no fucking way.
Yeah.
But I shit you not. This is the first time I've had this happen in so long that I was like, what the fuck? I have a good sharp straight cutter. Okay. Right on the second line of the cap. Right. I got 3 stress fractures that went down the side of the cap into the label as soon as I cut the fucking cigar. And then every draw, which we'll get into the draw here shortly, was like I could feel air escaping up the sides of it. Yeah. I was like, motherfuck, are you shitting me?
That's funny. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I actually thought at first glance, it's a beautiful cigar.
Yeah.
It looks amazing for a Churchill. Like it's very symmetrical. I like the color of the wrapper. I like that. Like you said, caramely color is like a milk chocolatey kind of color, maybe even slightly lighter than that. And it's slightly glossy. It's firm. It's very aesthetically pleasing. I thought the cap structure is awesome. No blemishes, nothing like that. The part that I thought was weird, and this is something I paid attention to more and more, are what I call wrapper rolls, or like where you'll see a gap in the wrapper roll. So as the wrapper's being rolled around the binder, a lot of times there's gaps where it's not rolled tight enough. And my cigar had like 3 of those. Like it just not pressed hard enough on the roll to keep those gaps from appearing. So it's like, I could stick like a toothpick inside the fucking wrapper roll right there. So it just rushed production is what it kind of looks like. And they weren't ridiculous, but I thought the construction overall was awesome. I do want to make note about the fucking hideous goddamn artwork on the band. It only reminds me of those fucking retarded artistic monoliths that just keep being, fucking dropped in random places in the country. It's like almost like CAO Vision stole the monolith idea or vice versa. It just looks, you know what it looks like? It looks like, God damn, what was that fucking movie with the weird spaceship? Is it the one with Keanu Reeves? I want to say
the one that comes down and it's like,
yeah,
it's called Arrival or something.
Is that what it is? Yeah, I think it's Arrival. Is that the Keanu Reeves one?
No, that's When the Earth Stood Still.
I don't know which one I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of one of those, but it just to me is so fucking ridiculous and plays on the whole thing that I can't stress enough about CAO. It's just like all these ridiculous gimmicky things that they do with pretty much every release that they come out with, which just seems so overthought. And I think if CAO could just get back to blending good cigars and forgetting about fucking, adding dice to their fucking goddamn line, into their, what was it, the bones, add a couple fucking dice in there, or the CAO Vision where you have this gimmicky humidor, or even let's rewind back to the Sopranos blend that came out and some of the other stupid gimmicky. It's like, dude, CAO, if you just concentrated on the blend, you've got access to probably some of the best tobacco in the world. Like fucking use it. To me, it's just like, God damn, like it's just so fucking dumb and gimmicky and just, I don't know. It just doesn't seem very thoughtful. And it almost kind of seemed like it was rushed. Like this wasn't like a project. You know what it reminded me of? It was just like, man, we got to release like one more cigar this year. What's it going to be? And like Rick Rodriguez is like, what would be dope? Let's resurrect the fucking Vision, but let's do something different. And they just like haphazardly threw some shit together, had some fucking high school kid design the fucking artwork for it. And they were like, Yahtzee, that's it. There it is. And then, by the way, let's put it in one of these fucking really ridiculous light up humidors that, unless you're committed to buying the entire fucking box of 20 for $380, you'll never get one in your life. They'll just sit at a cigar shop.
Yeah. I feel like the box humidor like belongs in some type of like cheesy Vegas like bar. If that makes sense. Like all the fancy lighting, it's like it would go perfect in a glass overly lit bar.
I would love to have one because of these LED lights behind me. I mean, why not just crack that box open and just let it light up my walls? Yeah. It's like, fuck. But I'm super stoked about the cigar release.
I am too. I honestly am. And I know it's already started off on the wrong, but it's not even objective right now. It's more subjective.
Yeah,
this is a subjective review.
It definitely is. Yeah, it's the cigar that I love to hate the most. Like I love it so much because I think I just despise its existence to no end. The fact, I'm telling you, the fact that they came out as soon as I saw this was being released, Chris, I like screamed. Like I fucking screamed out loud, and I was just like, fuck yes. I was so goddamn excited knowing it was gonna be just a shit show. Yeah, I was excited nonetheless. Now let's get into the burn of the cigar. Chris, what do you think about the burn?
Well, I think I knew I was gonna be heading into some challenges right on the draw. Mine was, at points it had enough resistance on the draw, but I basically had to throat fuck my cigar because if I sucked from the tip, like there was too much air coming out the sides and smoke coming out the sides that I couldn't get a good draw on it.
Yeah, you really had to fucking hammer down, huh?
Yeah. What was even more, I'm sorry, I'm really not trying to bash the cigar more than I already am. But I've had this happen with other brands, and I've mentioned it in reviews before. But keep in mind, this was an airy draw, right? I almost had zero resistance to it. And it's a big enough ring gauge, and it's in a Churchill, like it's not a tight draw. I wasn't smoking on too heavily, but I immediately had oil build up in the cap. And you know, that real bittery tar shit.
I hate that. It's gross.
I was getting that so quickly with this cigar. And so I found myself, the only way to get a good draw would be to throat fuck it. The problem is that the tar was hitting me in the back of my throat, hit my bitter taste buds, that it was just like, oh, it was so bad. But now, all fairness, let's try to keep it, fair and honest.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's shout out some positives.
It did burn really consistently. I had 0 runs in it. It honestly was a good 2-3 puffer. It did produce a good amount of smoke production, and it burned good and consistently, and then it never went out. I never had a burn issue really outside of the cap. So that there are some positives, right? So the burn overall was decently, but I think it was challenged by the construction and the weird tar oil buildup that I was getting in the cap.
Makes sense. Mine had a slight tight draw on it, which was kind of annoying because we're talking about a Churchill, so we're talking about 7 inches of tight draw. Despite my efforts to kind of loosen it up a little bit, it just kind of stayed the same. So it was a bit annoying, but the smoke production overall was actually really good. Burned very consistently, not dissimilar to yours. All 7 inches of this fucking fat beast. It burnt great. No pitting, nothing like that. So no challenges whatsoever in terms of having to relight with just abrupt outages. It smoked evenly all the way down through the fucking 2.5 hours I had to endure this thing. It actually burnt really well. Actually, and I guess I'm not too surprised because I did think the construction was pretty good. So I wasn't really shocked that it burnt that well, although I would anticipate in a 7-inch cigar, especially from CAO, that I'm going to have some sort of trouble or issue. And I didn't at all. I thought it was pretty fucking awesome.
Same. I had no issues.
So there's your positives. They probably end there. Arguably the most important piece of what we review is the flavors. And Chris, I'll start with you. What did you think about the flavors of the cigar? Now, this is different. It's a different blend. So we can't really reflect on similarities from the initial CAO Vision that was released in 2007. This is its own thing. So what did you think about the blend of the cigar?
Okay. It's kind of like looking at a painting from 1,000 feet away, looking at like a 3x4 foot painting from 1,000 foot away, or trying to hear your child who's in a different country. I knew that there was flavors there, but they were so distant that I struggled to really discern and get a good amount of flavor out of it, because it was like escaping me, basically. Like it was just so far away. I think I got bitter and woody. I know I got a mouthful of tar. And I think there was some nuttiness and some mild creaminess. And the only time I'll say when I got the mild creaminess with an asterisk is that it was usually when I was trying to really hit it hard. Like because I was really trying to do real strong draws on it, because one, I was having a smoke issue because I was like, I had to basically throat fuck the cigar. But the only way I was getting flavor out of it is when I hit it really hard and really fast. Otherwise, I didn't get anything really. And I'm going to blame it on COVID, but I'm curious as to what your response is, because I really struggled with the flavor. There was moments where I thought I was getting something, and the next subsequent draw within the same 2-3 patterns that I do, where I go like 3, I usually do 2 or 3 hits. It's like there was nothing coming through. It's like a blind man who can't, or it's like a colorblind person that can't see color. You know there's colors there, right? You know that might be red.
Right. You know that tree's supposed to be green.
Trees might supposed to be green, and you can associate that with being green because people tell you it's green, but you don't see green.
Yeah.
Like that's how my flavor was with this. Because like I've had Cameroon and I've had the filler types before, and I know what I should be kind of getting. And I felt like a colorblind person. It's like, I think I was supposed to be tasting this.
Yeah.
But I'm not really getting it.
I was concerned about you smoking this cigar with the thought that you could have COVID.
Right.
And as I started smoking the cigar, I was sure I had COVID. You know, it starts off with like a slight bit of pepper. It sits on the back of the tongue. And there's a little bit of that tame nuttiness, which I will probably attribute to that Cameroon wrapper.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of sweetness that kind of appears in the first third, but it's muted like completely. As you kind of go into the second third of the cigar, it's more the same. And that sweetness that I actually kind of enjoyed in the beginning, that was very much tame, was just disappeared altogether. And what I did is I switched up my tactics, because we're talking about a 7-inch cigar. So when we talk about first third, second third, and final, we're talking about a significant chunk of the cigar. Now, to smoke that significant chunk and not really get anything that's meaningful, you're going to start to change it up a little bit. So I said, okay, let's really begin concentrating on retrohaling the cigar, see if we can get any of those imparted flavors. And I got a little bit of wittiness on the retrohale, but this is probably, Chris, and I don't want to understate this, it's probably the only time I've ever retrohaled a cigar and literally got nothing.
Didn't get any flavor.
I was like,
I retrohaled too.
You know what? It's like this cigar was made. It's almost like those stupid blue vape pens that they came out with years ago to replace cigarettes. Like, you don't get any of the smoke. You don't get any of the stuff that's like represented in smoke or flavor. You only get the feel of the pen between your fingers and the nicotine that comes into your mouth. Everything else is gone.
Yeah.
I'm sure CAO just invented that for cigars.
It's like, hey, do you eat food without salt and pepper? Do you like the natural taste of cauliflower? Well, this cigar is going to be perfect for you.
Yeah.
Because if you like bland, you're getting bland.
Yeah. And what was crazy to me was I was so committed. After the second third, I was like, I gotta put it down. It's so boring. And I was like, but you know what? You never know. You could be surprised. That final third could be amazing. And I was hopeful. I was hopeful because the Vision holds a place in my heart. But somehow that final third gets even more boring than the first 2/3 of the cigar, and flavors become even more void, even more faint, where it doesn't ride off into the sunset. It fucking collapses just before it gets to the edge of the sunset and then dies of dehydration. It's so terrible.
You know those old Western movies where the cowboy's riding the horse across the West and the horse dies? He's got to leave it in the field.
It's exactly what happened to this.
That's that cigar.
And I said earlier that the cigar, to me, especially with its release, and just the fact that it was the end of the year, felt rushed to me, because the CAO Vision does have this weird. It does kind of have this weird thing in the industry, like coming back in 2007, it was like a statement CAO was trying to make, and then like they're reconditioning it for a 2020 limited release, right? And a whole new blend and all that. You can tell by the cigar itself that it was rushed and it wasn't well thought through. And the blend of the cigar is just so overly bland. I expressed to you early before we started recording that there's someone I know that owns a retail shop. And we were kind of volleying our thoughts back and forth. And he had already smoked it. I had not smoked it. And he expressed to me kind of what he thought about the cigar. And I only asked him his opinion simply because I think we all understand that there's just vast differences of what you're going to get in terms of imparted flavors from cigars from one person to another. So I took his opinion as just like, okay, well, what does he think? And I knew it wasn't going to influence exactly what I thought on the cigar. But what was strange about the experience is now 3 people I've discussed this cigar with, being you and him, or sorry, 3 total people, including myself, all had the same opinion about the flavor of the cigars. Literally to a fucking T. Is that coincidence? I don't think so. I think COVID. I honestly, it's either we all have COVID or this cigar. And you know what's weird about it too, is I smoked it. And then after I was done with it, I picked up another cigar and I was like, oh, thank God I don't have COVID. Cause it was just fucking, I'm telling you right now, this is not a bad idea. If you want to recondition your palate to absorb something so goddamn delicious, smoke the Vision first and then smoke another good cigar. And that other good cigar will make you appreciate how good cigars can really be. Because it's that fucking bad. I mean, 7 inches of probably the most boring fucking cigar I've ever smoked in my life. And I've had pretty much everything in Fuente's fucking lower end lineup. And I have to say, this is worse. Now, it's worse in terms of flavor if we're just talking about the cigar itself. Here's the difference. This cigar is $19. 19.00. It is, by all accounts, a very expensive cigar. Now, it is also a CAO. How could you be a CAO and be $19? Now, it's also a fucking CAO Vision, which the original release was not one that I feel was touted as being one of the greatest. I actually think Cigar Aficionado actually rated it really high, but whatever that fucking means. I'm going to predict right now. I have a vision for you.
You got it. Okay.
The Vision makes the top 25 of Cigar Aficionado this year.
Ooh, I want to see it. You know what? I want to see it on the list.
I want to see it on the list. I think it's going to make that top 25, Chris. I think it will. No doubt. I think it'll do it. Now, here's the question. It's $19, Chris. I don't think we have to put much discussion in play here. Let's just both agree it's definitely not worth the price point.
I mean, this is the first cigar that we reviewed where our grading scale is flawed.
Where we got to give it another negative.
We got to give it another negative on price.
Yeah.
This, I'm gonna be real. This ain't a $10 stick.
Yeah, and no, it's not. It's not. Honestly, I don't know that I would pay $7 for this cigar. And I'm being very honest. Like, I don't know that I could even support pulling $7 out of my pocket for this cigar. I really don't. Now, I need to ask you, because I understand the grading scale to a certain point, because most cigars fall in that grading scale.
Yeah.
But I forget where my score is now, what it would represent in terms of what our recommendation would be, because I feel like it may be the first one that gets the lowest rating that we've ever had.
Hold on. I'm going to text you my score.
Yeah. Okay. I'll let you decide. I'll text you mine back, and then you can tell me where it lands.
Now, I wanted to be generous, but I feel like I had to be as objective as possible when I did this review.
Yeah, me too. And I swear, I mean, I was, honestly, it could have been lower.
Yeah.
Oh. It's coming in hot.
Okay. Oh, you graded higher than I did.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, folks.
Barely, marginally.
Folks, you probably wonder why you guys have the grading scales that you have, because all I hear is highly recommended.
Right. So repeat to people the 5 different recommendations that we have. And by the way, I did decide we're going to do something unique for our top 10 list this year. And we'll probably maybe do a bottom 10 list too, because I think that would be fun. But in the top 10, I've decided that I want to reveal the scores of the ones that get the highest scores, because
Okay.
we've not revealed any of those scores for quite
Yeah.
some time. And I think people would be curious to see where some of those land. So anyway, continue.
Our highest accolades for cigars reviewed on this show is that's the hot ticket. That is the highest mark that you could get.
Which we only had one. I think we only had one cigar this year that made it.
Which is a range. It's not like 100%, but it is a range of the top score that you could get from us. Then it's highly recommended. Then it's a decent smoke to try. Then there's better options out there.
Right.
And then might as well smoke twigs and mud for free. Now, again, back to my point, why do you guys have this grading score when all I hear is you've got highly recommended, or that's hot ticket, or decent smokes to try? I've never heard anything beyond that. I've never heard any cigar beyond that. Why even have them, right? It's because of cigars like this.
Because every once in a while, once in a while, rides off into the sunset and the horse dies.
Yeah. It's very fair to say, based on my score and Corey's trying to pull it into another category of recommendation. Mine actually still keeps it below the scoring criterion to do so.
Yep, barely.
This cigar is recommended at, you might as well smoke twigs and mud for free.
which honestly, given how fucking tasteless this cigar is, I'd rather I would rather smoke tree bark than fucking smoke another one of these Visions.
Do you remember?
Now, here's the thing. Now, will I buy more of them? Of course I will.
I've got another one.
Of course I'm going to buy more.
Yeah.
That goes without saying. Which, if you're CAO, who gives a shit how much it's like? Who gives a fuck? Because Corey goddamn stupid Allen over here is still fucking buying them. Because they're that ridiculous.
Oh,
but I will say, smoking twigs and mud, I'm telling you, is not a bad thing in comparison to the cigar. It's a certain upgrade. This cigar is so void of anything delicious at all. It's smoking 7 inches of nothing. It's like being up in space and trying to smell. Like, it just, there's nothing. It's just void of everything. There's no matter. It's nothing. It literally is nothing. There's no existence in this cigar at all. It's the fucking original e-cigarette of cigars. It's only supposed to maybe give you a little nicotine, but it's not supposed to do anything beyond that.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, do you ever remember when we were little, we used to go through the back creek to go to Delco Park to like ride on the BMX track?
Yeah.
I remember we were with Tony. I think you were with us. I'm pretty sure you were. And we were so gung-ho on getting those little tree branches that were hollow.
Yeah, the hollows. Yeah.
And we were like smoking them. We were just like goofing around, like smoking them because we had like little big lighters.
Yeah.
And I remember smoking that and just going, oh, it tastes like shit. Like it's a harsh, burnt flavor.
Yeah, harsh. Yeah.
People, that had more flavor than this cigar did.
Do you want to hear something really funny? So I haven't emptied my ashtray out. So I have a bunch of like wrappers and labels and shit sitting in my ashtray. And this is a 7-inch cigar. So I put it down and the ash on the cigar was hitting, it was actually hitting a Foundation Tabernacle label. And so it started burning it. And I started smelling. I was like, oh, that smells pleasant. Is that coming from the cigar? I was like, that smells good. And I got really excited. And then I just saw that the label was burning. I was like, damn it. It's still terrible. I was like, oh, some woodiness. This is going to be delicious. No, they're just burning another label.
It's going to be one of the most memorable cigar experiences of my life.
Yes. And that's why I love it, Chris. This is why I love the Vision.
I came inside and Cal was like, so how was the cigar view? I was like, absolutely fucking terrible.
I know. It's just, I'm.
And you know what her response was? Why did you even want to smoke it then? And I was like,
can't not.
Because we got to review it. Like,
this is a 2020 release. We have to review it. It's what we owe to the collective community. If we aren't going to do it, who's gonna?
Exactly.
I don't suspect you're going to see a lot of reviews on this cigar until it makes Cigar Aficionado's top 25.
I've seen 2.
There's 2 on it. Well, here's the third. And I bet, you know what? There's definitely going to be some good reviews on it. And I'm curious to see how they read.
Yeah, I know. Same.
Because this is an objectively awful cigar.
Yeah. And there's the 2 that I saw are actual YouTube reviews.
Cool. Can't wait to watch them.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you have it, everybody. $19 for the new CAO Vision. By the way, you're paying $19 for the cigar and you don't get to touch the fucking cool ass lit up humidor.
No, not unless you want to buy a box. But it would make great kindling.
The box itself or the
cigar? The cigars.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. You know, it's kind of one of those cigars that I would purposely give it to somebody I don't like who thinks they know a lot about cigars, and I would convince them because it comes with a hefty price point. Like, dude, the $19 CAO Vision, man. Like, and I'll tell them the backstory, but like came out in 2007. It was just a hit on the market. Here's all the cool fucking things that happened with it. This is a new blend, limited release. This is something you're gonna love. This is, I would give to my worst enemy cigar. Like, and convince them that they need to pay $19 for it. And then literally as they do that, I just keep fucking laughing hysterically. It's that fucking bad. And it kind of sucks because, you know, like one time, everybody starts somewhere when it comes to cigars. I don't know anybody who just gets into cigars immediately and starts experiencing some of the things that we've had the luxury of experiencing over time, right? It's kind of like you live and learn. You hear about the big name brands and you start smoking the Fuentes and you hear Rocky Patel and you hear all these things and you hear these guys that are out there make $7 cigars. And for the most part, that's like what that's going to be your entry into the industry, right? CAO is a perfect example of a manufacturer that does that. But I was a fan of CAO for a long time. I smoked CAOs for a long time.
I did too.
I mean, for a long time. And there's some that they have that are great and there's some that are just bad. But I would say over the course of time, especially in the recent like 3 to 4 years, they've just gone downhill significantly in terms of, I think, not only brand representation and what they bring to market from a marketing perspective, but just the blend of the cigars. Like, it all seems disconnected in that it just doesn't make sense anymore. Things seem rushed. It seems like a quota, right? Like, this new thing has to be released. We said we were going to do so many in this year. So let's rush this thing to market. Let's create a gimmick around it. Let's try to create some marketing excitement. It's like they're trying to be Drew Estate. Drew Estate just does it 100 times better. You know, love it or hate it. It's just, to me, it just oozes a gimmick. And when you're not concentrating on the cigar to the degree that you should to actually put something in the marketplace that is meaningful and that people will enjoy, this is what you end up with. And CAO has done a pretty good job of creating cigars just like this over the course of the last few years. So I'm not surprised, but I will be honest with you. I was hopeful it was going to be really good. I really was. I was like, I hope that I smoke this and it's going to be awesome. And I smoked it and I wanted to literally take the tip of the ember on the end of my cigar and gouge it into my eyeball.
See, I wanted it to exceed my expectation of how bad it was going to be.
Yeah, you had low expectations, right?
I had low expectations. I had a certain bias. But here's the thing, like, don't get me wrong, and there's a silver lining in this. There are good CAO cigars. Corey's already said it. There are good ones. But there some of these just, it's like they just seem so ill-conceived, half piss poor execution. I don't.
Could you think about the kind of ego and narcissism you would have to have as a blender and as a brand to suggest someone paying $19 for the CAO Vision or paying $19 for a Padron 1926 or $19 for any iteration of a Davidoff or $19 for an Ashton or $19 for an Opus or $15 from something in the legal lineup from Drew Estate? How could you be so narcissistic as a brand to say, yeah, this is going to be worth $19? It's insane to me. And we are stupid because we bought them.
And I'm going to continue buying, baby.
How do I get my money back? Is there a way to unsmoke this cigar and just go?
The way to get your money back is to smoke another one.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy at least 4 more.
It's like a black hole.
I'm going to buy multiple CAO Visions as stocking stuffers for people. That's gonna be the gift.
The last thing I'll say, it's kind of like if I was going to make a cigar, and maybe I would imagine everybody has their own different approach to this, and I'm not saying this is the right or wrong. This is just how I perceive it. But I think you're totally right. If I was making a cigar, right, and I have smoked so many cigars in the industry, and I know what I think is good, what isn't, based on personal preference, or what I know sells really well and what doesn't. Like, I would literally look at my cigar I just made and go, is it worth that one or that one? Is it worth this one or even that one? And if I could with clear conscience say it isn't, then I would do something different, or I would price it differently, or I would try a different blend or something else.
But that plays into the whole idea that I said as far as the narcissism, right? We're CAO, so hear us roar. Like this, we're going to do this. Either way, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Right, wrong, or different. We're going to put it out there. Yeah. Where I think there would be a lot of trepidation from other brands who didn't believe in the blend as much and wanted to go back and maybe kind of reconfigure what they're doing. Or like, I think use Plasencia as an example, right? We're talking about like the Alma Fuerte comes in at just a very similar price point, right? Depending on what Vitola you get. Yeah. Think about the difference in the flavors of those cigars. Think about it.
You know what it's like? It's like a middle schooler playing baseball against a pro baseball player from MLB.
Yeah, just
and trying to make it competitive.
Out of your league.
Out of your league.
Yeah, it's egregious. Someone should file a lawsuit.
Give him my money back.
It's terrible. I mean, it's just, yeah. I don't even want to say, I mean, I don't want to beat a dead horse because it already died riding into the sunset. So there's no reason to do that. It's just, it's so bad. I can't wait to smoke another one.
Me too.
It's going to be great. I'm going to video it. Like the next time I smoke one, I'm just going to I'm going to video the whole experience and just do like a very candid, just like in the moment, you know what I mean? Cause right. Like when we do these reviews, we collect our thoughts, we write them down, we articulate them. They follow a certain guideline that we've put into place. I would love to just hit record on my camera as I'm smoking this thing and just being like, what in the fuck is happening right now? Like, I feel like if I were to have a conversation as I smoking the cigar, the content would have been hilarious. It was that ridiculous.
The flavor to the cigar is how is comparable to how I would speak during a video smoking it. For example,
yeah,
it would be 2.5 hours of pure silence from me with a stoic face.
It's like,
while I smoke it. No emotion, no nothing, just silence and no entertainment. Yep. I would embody the persona of the CAO Vision.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you would just be blank.
Yeah.
All right, let's fucking close this shit out. Yeah, buy the donger. Buy Donger's Knockout. It was great. It would be a great, dude. There's not a better stocking stuffer than Donger's Knockout. I was thinking about it. I'm like, we're right at this time. Like, buy them, stuff them. Could you imagine someone picking that out of stocking? It'd be so great.
For $20, you can get yourself a CAO Vision. For $24, you can get 5 Donger Knockout cigars that I promise you
100%. So much better. Yeah. So much better. Yeah, of course. And remember, you can get those at mycigarpack.com. You can get that part of the ongoing regular subscription. If you're already a subscriber to My Cigar Pack, you can get the Factory Direct stuff as an add-on to that, or you can subscribe to the Factory Direct stuff on its own, or you can just buy single 5-packs of these on cigaryard.com. So you've got plenty of ways to buy it. You also visit our website, www.hotticketweekly.com. We will have more information on the Donger and this particular release on the site soon. So there'll be a webpage up that kind of explains what we did. And we're also going to be recording a podcast to kind of go over the cigar itself and kind of the thought process around what we did in collaboration with with Danny DeFabio from Rodriguez and Alex from My Cigar Pack. So hopefully that'll be coming up next week's podcast, trying to get that together. Danny, I believe, is currently in Guatemala. So he's not even anywhere in the United States. And he was just in Vail, Colorado. It's like, dude, you just vacation all the time. You live in Key West. Why do you got to go anywhere else? Like, you're already in the best spot in the fucking country right now. Like, you got to go to other places. Like, what's going on? But we're looking to have both those folks on the podcast so we can just have a discussion around it. And just we actually want to discuss the cigar amongst us. I've smoked it. Danny smoked it, but I think we're the only two that have smoked it. Chris, you and Alex, I believe, still have to smoke the cigar. So which I'll make sure that the samples that I have, you can have really soon.
Yeah.
But I don't believe I missed anything. So that will conclude episode 177. Hopefully next week we'll have a fun podcast with 4 individuals. That should be a blast. But until then, this concludes episode 177. We'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.